Boys and girls, today we're going to be going through an in-depth review of the old OG VS200 and the X2 200. I'm going to give you my honest review. I fished these. This is just my opinion, so take it with a grain of salt. We'll start off with the VS. The VS, I like it. It's a good reel. I like the solid cup version because the saltwater doesn't really fly back in your face as much. It's a great reel. I say as far as function-wise, they're about the same amount of smoothness. One thing you'll really realize is the old VS200 has a much smaller, more dense platform than the X2. But there are some trade-offs, of course. First off, this is a non-serviceable side plate, so if you're trying to do a self-service, it might be a bit harder to do it on this reel versus this reel. I've done a lot of services on these. I don't really think that's the case, but you know. One other thing is some of the new X2s have a bit more drag and a bit more smoother drag than the old VSs. I'll show you something else. These old VSs, the really old ones, the drag is not sealed, so that might be a big, you see that? That is not a non-sealed drag, which that can be problematic for some people if you're really getting in the surf. For me, I do dunk these things sometimes, but they don't really get a whole lot of abuse. As far as just looks wise, this reel has a much deeper gold than the new X2. I like that. The other thing is the handle of the X2. A lot of people like it more. It's much more easy to grab. It's much more, for me, I kind of like the way the old VS handle sits in my hand. One thing I will say, which is for me, the biggest, for my type of fishing, is the biggest thing that I like about the VS. The VS has this big main gear, the same sort of main gear that goes in the X2. But this reel is, even though it's a solid cup as well, it is much lighter. It's noticeably lighter than the X2. That's just my opinion. I'm pretty sure if I weighed it, that'd be about the same amount. It's much lighter. That's just my opinion. So now we'll get into the next, into the X2. So this is the X2. The X2 is a much bigger platform reel. It is, it's one of the limited edition ones. As far as fishability, I really like this bigger drag knob. Much easier to grab a hold of in my opinion. I also like the old OG VS ones, but the OG VS ones, I like how this comes out wider. Another thing I will say is I'm pretty sure this VX2 is going to be, this handle is slightly longer just to incorporate this bigger flyer they got on here. I'm pretty sure, don't mark me. Another thing I will say, this bigger ball handle, sorry, the handle's a little loose, that's why it went back a little bit. This bigger ball handle is much easier to grab, which you're like, dude, can I replace this bigger ball handle onto this OG VS? Yeah. As far as for me, I honestly don't really find myself fishing the X2s very often, and I'll tell you why. The OG VSs are just a little lighter, and that's what I need. If you're looking for a smoother, longer sealed drag, you might want to take a look at the X2, but if you're looking for something that's lighter while you're surf fishing, this is probably going to be what you're going to need. They're both, honestly, it's so hard to compare because they're both just such incredible reels, but if you're looking for a wonderful, tremendous saltwater reel, this is probably what you're going to need.